Hi everybody! So today we are going to finish our counter in React.js. So we have this already made. It doesn't have any functionality yet, but let's change that. So there are two concepts that we're going to cover, and that is state and props. So first we're going to talk about properties. So if you remember, everything is nested into each other in React, kind of like a box of chocolates. And if you don't get that, please go back to the other video. It'll make more sense then. So anyway, so here we have our counter container. Okay, and it's holding our counter. And it needs to pass off information into this right here. So it knows that this 0 needs to change. It knows that this up and down button will change this 0. Okay, and so what changes? So how we pass down information from the container to the component is called properties. You can kind of think of it as running a race. You can think of one of the teammates as a container and one of the other teammates as a component. So and the properties are this baton. So you have to pass it off to win the race. If you don't pass it off correctly, you're not going to win the race. So how is this done? So let's go to our counter container. So first we're just going to kind of hard code in a number as we pass down some properties. So I'm just going to give this a name of a number equals curly brace because this exits out of JSX. Number, let's say 5. I want my counter to say 5. Okay, number equals 5. Okay, let's go to our component. And in here, in our h2 tag, which is where my number is, I'm going to get rid of that 0. I'm going to say curly brace to get out of JSX. And I'm going to say this dot props dot number. Cool, so kind of like what this says is like in this instance, this property will be this number. Yeah, okay, so let's see what happens. Let's see if it says 5. Reloading. Look at that, it says 5. Yay. Pretty cool, right? But it's not as much fun as if we could actually change the number, but it is pretty cool for other instances where you just want to pass down regular old information. So good concept to know and handy for other instances. So to make the number actually change, we need to set up a couple of functions and we need to set up our state constructor. Okay, well, a constructor with state inside. Okay, so here we go back into the container. So to do this, we are going to say, so right here and above render is where we're going to put our constructor function. So we say constructor, and then we always have to call super. And then we say this dot state equals, and then curly braces to exit out, and we say, I'll use the same name, so number, then we set it to 0. You could also set this to like 99, 100, 10, whatever number you want your counter to start at. This is where you set it. Okay, and now before I enter in the other state, I'm actually going to make the functions of the up and down. So to do this, let's see, we'll make an up function. I'll just say up. All right, it's a function. And we say this dot set state. Cool, so all this does is basically it's saying that this function is going to happen at whatever state it's in. It doesn't matter if there's any other conditions or anything. So it just wants how the page is at this moment to interact with itself. So I say number is this dot state dot number plus 1. Okay, so we're changing what number is, and we're adding it, and we're adding on to it. Okay, so let's make it down. So pretty much the same thing, except it'll be -1. Cool. Okay, now up here, we're also going to have to set state because we kind of have to like tie it all together, and that's what this does. Up equals this dot up dot bind this. And there's also packages that you can use like auto bind and stuff. Normally I use that, but this is just kind of shows exactly what it's doing. So it's tying the up function to kind of this dot set state, so it knows what's going on. Okay, all right, so we have all this typed out, but again, all this information, all this logic is living in the container. It needs to get to our counter component. So how do we do that? We pass it down. All right, we hand off the baton. So let's say, all right, so kind of the conventional way to know that what you're passing down is a function, you say handle. So handle up equals, and for this you just say this dot up. You don't need to say this dot props dot up because it's living in this container. All right, and then we say handle down equals this dot down. Okay, and then we're not going to say this 5 anymore. We're going to say this dot state. Okay, because we're passing down the state right here, which happens to be set to number equals 0. Okay? All right, so here we go. All right, so we already have our logic here for the number, so that's going to stay the same. But we want these buttons to change every time that we click them. So we need to add a function in there so it calls, we need to add like an event listener, so it needs to be listening for something, and then for it to call back our function that we just made. Okay? All right, so we go inside this button and we say on click, and then equals, and then we say curly brace to exit out of JSX because we're writing JavaScript. All right, so parentheses, fat arrow, this dot props dot handle up, because remember we set it to the name handle up, not just up, so handle up, and then we have to call it because it's function. All right, and then we end the function and we exit back out into JSX. Great, cool. All right, now let's do the same thing for down. On click equals, exit out of JSX, anonymous function, this dot props dot handle down. All right, and then we have to call it because it's a function, and then we end the function, and then equals. All right, and then we exit back into JSX. Okay, all right, so if all is done well, should be working. Let it reload. Uh-oh. Something's wrong with our keys. Did I set this wrong? Oh, sorry, okay, this state number. There we go. All right, down, up, and it works. Cool. So the problem there was I needed to specify what in state, and that was a little silly. So anyway, so to pass this down, number equals this dot state dot number because it needs to know specifically what it's talking about. Great. All right. Well, you guys did it. You made your first React app. We talked about state and properties. All right, cool. So we didn't take the time to style it, but it's pretty much not too big of a difference. I might do a video later, but just in case I don't, instead of just class, you say class name equals, and then you say whatever class, and then it'll add it. So just a little quick recap. I might go into that more later. But that's how it's done instead of, and then ID is the same. So, all right. Well, we'll catch you guys later.